So these times we are in seem dark and bleak as can be. We have Hitler wannabes, we have tragedy with refugees. We have so many sad moments, and human tears are not paying anyone's rent. You wonder why this happened and who's to blame. You think this is just another era of human shame. But maybe you are wrong. Maybe we all have been wrong. Maybe this is your chance for something new, a chance for something only you can do. Maybe you can learn the compassion you never receive, or maybe that bleeding heart of yours can bring someone crying to their knees. Maybe your blues was meant to save someone else, and this is all within time you spent by yourself. Maybe you have all the answers, maybe you don't, but now we have to move beyond taking notes. And I declare, no, I demand, it's not a time of apathy, of loss, of endless confusion. This is a time of renewed revolution and of holy missions and social missions. This is a time with clear heads and full hearts. This is not the time to lose your spark. You think it's some kind of divine devastation. I'm telling you right now, we have been given a great cosmic intervention. For the times demand that we use all our power to save the future, because this may be our last chance, and interventions were never meant to last forever.
I wrote this poem right before Christmas, and there's going to be some numbers in here that are no longer accurate, but I left them as is because when I'm done with this, I'm going to read the real numbers. If somebody can bring me that napkin that I left over there that has the real numbers on it. Please and thank you. Thank you. Appreciate you. Okay. A quote from the UN Secretary General. Gaza is becoming a graveyard for children, but when I share that on my socials, I'm sent a warning, strike one, don't talk about it. They want to pretend that it's complicated. You see, they can only carry out this genocide if the masses believe that what they say about us to dehumanize us is the truth about us, that we are animals, uncivilized, not human enough to deserve life. But let me ask you this. Do you know what a settlement is? Do you know it's illegal under international law, or the parallels we can draw to South African apartheid, the Rwandan genocide, or police violence in Chicago's South Side? Do you know where the bigoted police learned to kneel on necks? They trained in apartheid Israel. Do you know who rains down bombs on a civilian population so Raytheon can claim those bombs are battle-tested? Apartheid Israel. 76 journalists have been assassinated in 60-plus days, 158 press offices blown away, 131 hospitals bombed, 271 schools bombed. Nowhere else in the world would this be complicated. Don't you wonder why in 35 US states it's illegal to criticize Israel but not the American president? Is freedom of speech not covered in the First Amendment? We are losing our constitutional rights to a foreign tyrant who needs our silence, so you still believe it's complicated. What shall I tell the mother of the 6-year-old boy stabbed to death in his kitchen for being Palestinian? Or the mothers of the 3 college students shot for speaking Arabic in America? Are these hate crimes complicated? That kind of thinking is convoluted. Folks let their humanity become polluted, but I'm here to question that narrative. They call Gaza an open-air prison. It's how they subtly suggest that children aren't civilians, because language matters and prison comes with an implication of criminality that's not the reality. Gaza is a concentration camp where they are forbidden even from collecting rainwater. Most who are born there have never left there. The colonizers made sure of this. The occupation's response to peaceful protests within was to open fire on unarmed medics, press, and children, and order their troops to break the bones of any child who dared to dream of a return to their ancestral homes. And collective punishment is a war crime. Cutting off food, water, and fuel is a war crime. Bombing schools and hospitals is a war crime. Targeting the press is a war crime. But when I talk about international law on my socials, strike two, a shadow ban ensues. They need to censor our voices because our voices are stronger than their bombs. Truth always rings louder than lies, and truth spread around the world can stop a genocide. They tell you it's complicated. Don't talk about it. Don't do research. Be afraid you don't know enough. You aren't smart enough. Leave this to us. But we tell you, it's not complicated. Read about it. Your voice is power. You are power. Use your voice. Step into your power. The fate of Gaza depends on it. The colonizers pretend their whiteness makes them superior to the indigenous population whose shades of brown make them inferior, but the truth is a little trickier and you gotta dig a little deeper. Decolonize your mind. Don't willingly be blind, just do a little research. The evidence is there for you to find if you just stop thinking it's complicated. I'm here to tell you it isn't. It only takes 10 minutes on Google to get educated. The fate of Palestine depends on the masses being willing to investigate it, searching for words like occupation, apartheid, ethnic cleansing, settler colonialism, ethno-state, and Nakba. You'll soon know nothing started on October 7th. That's just when the world finally paid attention. In the words of Nelson Mandela, we know too well that our freedom is incomplete without the freedom of the Palestinians. In the words of Angela Davis, Palestine is a moral litmus test for the world. So I ask you, will you pass the test? It's not complicated. And the correct numbers now are 390 schools, 122 journalists, 337 healthcare workers, and 145 UN staff members. Let's talk about our feature because this is super exciting. We have Zeina Azzam, a Palestinian-American poet, writer, and editor. She's the Poet Laureate of the city of Alexandria, Virginia for 22 to 2025 and was nominated twice for the Pushcart Prize. Her poems appear in over 50 literary journals, webzines, and anthologies, and Zeina's full-length poetry collection titled Some Things Never Leave You was published in 2023, and her chapbook, Baina, In Between, in 2021. She also serves as a mentor for We Are Not Numbers, a writing program for youth in Gaza, and she holds an MA in Arabic Literature from Georgetown University, an MA in Sociology from George Mason University, and a BA in Psychology from Vassar College. So without any further ado, our feature, Zeina Azzam.
Thank you for your very powerful poetry. And Alex, you too, really enjoyed listening to your poems as well. And I really want to thank you, Alex, for inviting me and organizing this program. I met Alex 3 years ago in Williamsburg. We're both part of the Poetry Society of Virginia, and we were together at it was a luncheon, and we were invited to come and read to a bunch of people. And I also met Heather at the Poetry Society of Virginia, and she's also a poet, a lovely poet. So it's so nice to see you here in Richmond. And then welcome to the Virginia Coalition for Human Rights people. Thank you so much for coming, Dion and Nancy and Reem. And Fatma, are you part of the group too, or no? She will be. Okay. And Tanisha, nice to meet you. And Gabe, nice to see you here with us. And thank you, George, for everything you're doing tonight and recording us. So it's really such a pleasure to be with all of you. Thank you for coming to listen. I decided, well, because of the theme of today, I picked poems about Palestine, about my parents, about my background, to share with you. So I do write about other things, but today that's kind of going to be the theme. And in a way, I decided to do it a little bit chronologically to tell you a little bit about my childhood and then coming here to the U.S. and then my experience here. So my parents are Palestinian refugees. They fled Palestine in 1948 when the war, when Israel was established, and so they fled and left everything behind. Were never able to go back. They moved to Syria and then Lebanon, and then the United States. I was actually born in Syria after they were there for several years, and then when I was 2 years old, we moved to Lebanon, to Beirut. So I had my childhood in Beirut. And hello, welcome. So I had my childhood in Beirut, and we came here when I was 10. So I've been here since I was 10 years old, and so I have the immigrant experience. My parents have the refugee experience, and both narratives have been, big in my life. So you're going to hear about my life through poetry. Welcome. And as Fatma said, I have 2 books. I don't have any more copies of this one. I didn't bring any with me, but this is my chapbook called Baina Baina, in between. Baina is the Arabic word for between. And when you put 2 together, it kind of means betwixt and between. And the poems in here, many of them are about being between cultures, between languages, between home and exile. Oh, we all experience a lot of betweens, and so these are my betweens in here. This was published in 21. And Some Things Never Leave You is my new book from last July. And it's my first full-length poetry collection. Some Things Never Leave You is a line, actually, from a poem in here. And it's a poem about my mother, and it's about all the memories of Palestine that never left her at the end of her life. She passed away. Anyway, so that's all the memories of Palestine that never left her at the end of her life. She passed away. Anyway, so that's my little introduction. So, first poem I'd like to share with you is titled Just Like That. And this is something about my own childhood, and I think a lot of young people in developing countries might feel the same way. Just like that. When our neighbor's son was gunned down in Beirut, when streets flooded after monsoon-like rains, my parents would only say, "Inshallah, things will get better." At the beach, when I was 8, a flurry of people rushed into the water, then returned, somber, carrying a young man's limp body on a raft. Once, as my mother's nimble fingers braided my long black locks, I watched a war unfold on TV. Some nights I fell asleep reciting my parents' words, "Inshallah, things will get better," often thinking that maybe I, too, could come face to face with a gun or a bomb from the sky, storms that could sweep away my home, or whirlpools as I swam in the sea. And just like that, my life would end, a little brown body washed ashore. So, as I mentioned, I was 10 when we immigrated to the United States from Lebanon. And this is a poem about leaving. It's called Leaving My Childhood Home. On our last day in Beirut, with my 10 years packed in a suitcase, my best friend asked for a keepsake. I found a little tin box to give her, emptied of lemon drops, that would hold memories of our childhood. Us swinging in the dusty schoolyard, rooftop hide and seek, wispy, sweet jasmine, kilos of summertime figs, king of falafels, tahini-bathed sandwiches, our pastel autograph books. All those remembrances crammed in that box, tiny storytellers waiting to speak. Later, her family would uproot too, transplant like surly Palestinian weeds pulled every few years. We all knew about this, even the kids. I never saw her again, but know that she also learned to travel lightly, hauling empty boxes, pulsing with kilos of memories.